Welcome to Experience of the Soul with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly podcast helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 301, Successful Transitions. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host. I'm here today in my home studios. And look, friends, if you're watching on video, you'll see I have my beautiful stained glass behind me. This is a kind of online church, and happy to have you along the journey with us. I am in my home studio. I love to call it Anderson Studios. Seems like I should think of something a little bit more official, but I am so happy to welcome you onto the show and into this new energy on the podcast. And I want you to know we have a new producer, so help me welcome my new producer of Experience of the Soul podcast, Mr. Shawn Kilgore.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, I can hear everybody go.
I heard it in my head, too.
It was like, Mr. Shawn Kilgore, boom, is in the house.
I feel like I should be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great day, Shawn. And I love your background. That's awesome. Experience of the Soul.
It's very branded.
Yes. And today is an important day because we are, it's our transition day, right? We're moving into new beginnings, and we wanted to bring you along the journey with us. This last week we had show 300, which was a major accomplishment. It was the last episode with Dave, and Shawn, you were on that one as well. And that was really fun to record together.
It was. I love that I got to be on actually 2 episodes. For anyone that doesn't know, I've been a long time listener to the show. So this is like me stepping into, my favorite, one of my favorite shows. This is really great. And I got to tell you how much it means to me, this, us working together and that you've asked me to be a part of this is just, it really means the world to me. So I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And, I feel spiritually, karmically, you earned it, right? You're here by, there's an old phrase I heard many years ago. You're here by divine appointment, right? You're here by, like, you have been chosen, but you were here by choice as well. So you and I have been on separate journeys. Our journeys have also intertwined over the years. And, we're talking about that. It's so funny. A lot of times some of the best conversations happen before we're on the air. And we were both saying how we felt like maybe this was coming for a long time and we didn't know it consciously.
Right. Just the fact that the history that we have, the way that we met, the fact that it was just, just by chance that I was asked, well, not so much by chance, really, but that I was asked to come sing. And that's, the first time I attended your church, I never looked back, and I felt like I had found God again in my life. And I remember those first several months that I was going to church and just crying every Sunday morning. And
it's
it was,
it's like, oh my God, there's a place. I can be myself. I can be loved. I can be accepted. And I just get to worship God unencumbered, right?
Yes.
I know that was a big thing. And
not feel judged,
And not feel judged, yeah. Yeah. Well, I also know the other thing that touched my heart is that, through COVID and then after, you were really guided to go in and do some more singing at churches and, had been doing that. And you've supported me, in a variety of places with Sunday Night Church at Unity North Tampa. So, for people who are not local, we've had a long relationship, and even
you married my husband and I.
That's right. I married you. Yeah. My sister saw a picture, and for those of you who don't know or haven't seen the pictures yet, Shawn and I recently had a photo session, and one of them looks like a prom picture. And, my sister said, "Who is that?" I said, "Oh, I married him." And she goes, "You what? You married him?" And I said, "No, I married him and his husband." Oh, she said.
She's like, "You buried the lead. That's a bigger story."
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly.
There's bigger news there.
And friends, I want you to hear to talk about, you can hear in my voice. I was down for the count for about a week, and I'm still not 100%, but I so wanted to keep the podcast going, and I'm so happy to be with you today. And the title of today's show, and I meant to ask Shawn to give it to you. We were so busy, reliving old times. Shawn, give us the title of today's show, and it is show 301. What is the title today?
Today it's Monday, March 25th, right? And we are doing episode 301, Successful Transitions.
Successful Transitions. Yes. Do that one more time. Give me the date. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So today is Monday, March 25th. This is episode 301 of Experience of the Soul, Successful Transitions.
Wow. Successful transitions. And thank you, Shawn. Yeah, the key word there is successful. If we were in church, what I'd say about today's title is, have you ever had a transition that wasn't successful? Raise your hand, right? So let's get into it. When we first talked about today, it was really interesting because Shawn and I got excited about what we're going to offer. And we were excited about the new shows. Some of the shows we're going to be bringing back, we want to do more affirmations. And part of the big change on the channel is that it's going to be back to me as the only host. And we talked a lot about that the last show, so I don't want to go into a lot of detail. And if you missed that show, go back and grab it so you have context for what we're doing. That said, we have a lot of excitement about providing you with wonderful shows to support your journey. And in the midst of all that, when I got sick, it was like, wait a minute, something's trying to come forward. And so once again, friends, I'm going to be bringing my journey to you. And it will help you, I'm sure, reflect on your own journey. We're going to give you a powerful process to do as well at the end. So I'm just taking you along the journey with me. But as excited as Shawn and I are, what I wanted to say is, as excited as we are about what's happening and what's coming forward, the truth is transitions take a great deal of spiritual energy and emotional, psychological, and spiritual fortitude. Change is not easy. I often get quoted as the person who says, change, I love it, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. And of course, that's an affirmation when change feels hard to help us through. Well, I don't always love change, but I do know that there is a greater spiritual lesson if change is afoot, okay? Change is the language of the soul. Change means growth is happening. So we hear a lot of people talk about, getting out of your comfort zone. Well, nobody ever says that's going to be hard. Nobody ever says there's going to be things to release and let go of. And there may be some tears. And I can tell you and assure you, if you want to do it successfully, not only will there be tears, there will be probably a great deal of forgiveness work, of releasing and letting go of what you know. All of us live in a world where what we know is comforting. We live in a world where what we know has gotten us this far. So today's title, Successful Transitions, is about how do I walk forward in the midst of change? How do I move into my next phase of being? How do I prepare myself if change is coming? And I've asked for it on some level when I've said I want to grow spiritually. I've said I'm ready to be more like the Christ. I'm ready to live a life on purpose, a life of abundance, of health, of goodness, of prosperity. Okay, to do that, change must happen. Again, I want to repeat to you, change is the language of the soul. If you were taking notes in church right now, I'd say write that down. Change is the language of the soul. As a culture, mostly what we've seen is when there's change, well, first of all, let me say it this way. We've seen change be used as a political phrase and pawn, and usually the leaders are simply using that to manipulate us to a new idea. As I'm talking about change, I'm talking about the growth and development of your soul. I'm talking about the growth and development of your soul. So change is the language of the soul, means as change is happening around you, it's requiring you to grow. And that's what you're here on planet Earth to do. So nobody ever talks about that. We always talk about getting and having and success and what can I get that's mine, and I'm right and you're wrong. And friends, the spiritual journey happens on a whole nother level. And it's easy to get out of touch with that when we're so plugged into society at large. So when there's change, it means you are being called to grow. It means you're being called to expand. And the thing I can absolutely know, like the thing I rest on in myself, is that if I'm in a time of change, I know more good is coming for me. I've studied this so long, sometimes I get a little nervous if there's not enough change. So I'm the opposite of most people because of my study and my awareness around change. That said, do I still resist it at times? Absolutely. Absolutely, because change is hard. That's why I jokingly and not so jokingly say change. I love it. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Because I know change is the language of the soul. If change is happening, I am growing. So I want you to just think about, like, in your life right now, what is causing you to move forward in a new way? How are you being asked to, like, rise up into this new consciousness? Maybe it's a new way of thinking. I've been working on a number of levels about how I think about myself, about how I think about my ministry, how I think about my parenting and what's required of me. As my son ages, I've really learned that my parenting must shift into a new gear. We just had a great growth in his my son had a great growth in his life recently, and I realized the way I need to help him through that is not help him through it. Right. So that was a change for me. That was a change for me. If I keep acting the same way as he ages, not only am I not changing and growing, I am inhibiting his change and growth. So think about that. What are you being called into? What are the many ways that you're being asked to expand right now? The reason I said many ways is that very often when a big change is coming, you experience a little change and a little change and a little change. And then all of a sudden, things are starting to move, and it almost seems beyond your control. Well, friends, here's the good news and the bad news is it is beyond your control. It's beyond your control because you don't run the universe, God does. And change, because change is the language of the soul. Sometimes your personality, or what I often say, your mind lives in the limited world, and your soul lives in eternity. Your soul is connected, of course, to the here and now, but your soul knows more than your mind. And so often, as your soul is moving you forward, like you're almost being pulled, you go, wait a minute, what's happening, right? So in other words, all of us right now are being pulled into a transition. I can see it because of what's happening politically. I know it because of the time of year it is. I know it because so many of my clients that I work with one-on-one are going through tremendous transition, and they're all different kinds. So I want to give you some examples. Because you say, well, you might say, I'm not going through a transition. Well, you may be. You may be going through a health challenge. That is a transition. Someone in your life or family may be going through a significant health challenge. That is creating a change and a transition. You may have an increase of income or a loss of income. That is a change or transition. Your child may be doing things that you don't like them doing. That's going to cause you to question and change. Your child may be exceeding your expectations, And that's going to cause you to change because the way you parent, that will be different. So friends, see, as I'm speaking about this, life is full of change. Life is full of change. Even I mentioned earlier that, all last week I was so sick, and that's so rare for me that frankly, I fought it the first few days. I kept thinking I was going to get better and going to get better. And when I didn't, I said, I've got to learn how to do this or I'm going to make myself sicker. Right. So, I mean, that's how change is, right? It causes you to shift because the old way you're doing things isn't working. I was too sick to go get my coffee in the morning. I was too sick to go to the grocery store. Right. So it's like, okay, well, how do I do this? All right. So I know you're connecting with what I'm saying. I just can feel it. And so for my own life, I said I was going to talk about me, and I am, because in my own life, I've had a lot of change. As I mentioned, my son is going through a time of change. He'll be a senior, pretty soon in school. He's ending his junior year. He's driving. So that's a time of growth and development. My ministry is changing. The way I thought it was going, it's not going. That's okay, but it's requiring me to change. As we were thinking about the podcast and Dave leaving the show and Shawn coming on, that was a change. So many people had called me to do Sunday night church, but the attendance wasn't there. So, okay, I had to change. So when there are changes on that many levels, that means a bigger change is coming. So I wanted to prepare myself for the change. And frankly, I'm not sure if I would have done the depth of work I did if I had not gotten sick, because I was so still and I was so down for the count with so little energy. The only thing left was to go to God. I couldn't make anything happen. I had to surrender. So to move into a successful transition, what does that mean? Well, for me, it means to stop the struggle. To stop the struggle. And by that, I just said the word a moment ago, it means to surrender. I've talked about this word a lot, and I feel it's so important because of how necessary it is on the spiritual journey, that so often, the world tells us, make your own way and blah, blah, blah. And there is an aspect of truth to that. We have to make our own way. Yes, we have to move forward. But there is also a time where we surrender to the highest aspect of us, where we surrender to God. And by surrendering, that doesn't mean giving up or giving in. Surrendering means trusting. Yeah, surrendering means trusting that this energy that's moving us, this energy that's guiding us, is bigger than my own mind. It is even bigger than my own soul. It is the universe itself cooperating with my soul and helping me grow. Surrender means I quit striving and fighting and struggling, and I stop and I experience the flow. I stop and I listen for guidance. So, from the outside, you might say, well, how is that not giving up or giving in? What it really is giving over. I've never said it this way, I don't think. Giving over my personality to my higher self. That part of me, that soul of me that knows what is mine to do. And I absolutely know that without times of surrender, which for me is quiet, it is listening, it is forgiveness, it is not striving and moving forward, it is not struggling to know what's next. It is stopping, it is being at peace, it is being quiet, it is listening to what I need to do next. And sometimes I get nothing and I'm guided, stay in this place, wait. What happened for me recently in that surrender place was time to forgive again. Time to forgive again. So my forgiveness this time was very different. There was not a writing process. There was not a lot of doing. It was a breathing. It was a being with the feelings that came up and the things that I wanted to hold against someone. It was like working with the internal energies that needed to be released and let go and almost just loved, which for me is what forgiveness is. And there was a phrase I took through my process, and I said it very slowly. I was just very deep in the process. And after the process, it took me several hours to be in my process, all day really. And the phrase was, how it came to me was, I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. And as I worked with that phrase, different things would come up that I needed to forgive. Like, I forgive everyone for everything, including those that hurt me. I forgive everyone for everything, including those that didn't protect me. I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. As I worked this process, what I can tell you is that it took me to a whole new place energetically inside myself. It was not for anyone other than my own journey. It was not pre-planned or pretty. And there were a lot of tears. It's like I saw hopes and dreams die and be forgiven and released, which created all the space internally, like not holding on to some past dream. I was able to forgive like these really tough situations that I've worked with before, and it was just a new level of release. So why am I saying all this? What I'm saying is there's something better that's coming for you than you have right now. I absolutely know that for me. It's true for me. It's always true for you. I've just learned that over the years. And that often I go through things maybe a few days or maybe a week or two before you do. And then as you get to the show and you listen, you say, oh, I'm going through that right now. So I know that whatever is going on is bringing you your next best growth, your next best self. But to get to that next self, it's like we're not in the new beginning yet. We're kind of in this area called the void. And there's this great book a friend of mine wrote. He was one of my instructors in school, and he became a dear friend, Robert Brummett. He wrote a book called Finding Yourself in Transition. And his points were that there were three main aspects of transition. There was an ending, a void, and a beginning. And when you're in the void, basically, the only thing to do is surrender, because you're not in the new beginning yet. You're still in the time of change. And that's exactly where I am. And so rather than trying to doll it up and make it pretty and say, oh yeah, and this feels great. Well, it doesn't feel great. The void never feels great, but it's a necessary part of the transition. If we try to go from the ending to the beginning, we miss the most important part, right? So if you find yourself right now in this time of change and you don't know what to do next, bless it. I'm not saying you're going to be thrilled about it. Just bless it and know that good is coming. Know that change is coming. Know that this new beginning that you've so desired is right around the corner and that God is in the midst of this. You are so guided. Bless that time of change. Yes, bless your time of change and know that you are guided through this. You are supported through this. And the thing that will get you through the void is a time of quiet, a time of surrender, a time of listening, and absolutely necessary is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And remember that forgiveness is not condoning bad behavior. It's not calling bad behavior good. It is releasing the old energy that may be holding you and working with the very God of your being, the God of the universe, and releasing this old energy to God so that you can move forward into your new beginning. So, friends, I've been doing this stuff a long time and nobody gets out of the forgiveness work. And thank goodness, because this is the work that helps us grow and evolve. And this whole show, this whole channel, when it was founded, was about helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. And the process that I talked about today, this process of change and successful transition, is where I am, where the show is, and I'm guessing where you are. Right around the corner in just a week is a time of Easter. And Easter is a time of spring and literally springing forth into something new. And I want that for you. I want that for your soul, because as your soul grows, you're going to be a better person for whatever it is you're trying to do, a better mom, a better dad, a better whatever, wherever you find yourself, a better partner, a better human as you do this deeper spiritual work. So I'm going to leave you with a video. It's about, I don't know, Shawn, I think we listened to it, it was like 5 or 6 minutes. Right. And we wanted to leave it for you. So if you're driving or doing something else, I'm going to ask you to pause and come back to the video and to really take time. You may do another process, but I wanted to leave you with something that would really support this time of transition for you. And this is right out of my own process. After I got complete with mine, I was really guided to do this. So I hope it supports your journey.
Hey friends, it's really late at night, and the only reason I'm recording this is I literally could not go to sleep thinking about this process. I had been sick all week, very unexpectedly. I had to cancel all my work, meetings, clients, everything, church, speaking, trainings, and it really put me into a deep process, and one that was unexpected, and which is what the journey often does. And I talk about forgiveness so much, and a real key to me coming out of this was a forgiveness process. One of the things I did, I'm doing right now, and honestly, I couldn't sleep, which is the only reason I'm recording it. I felt like Spirit was keeping me awake. Even though nobody may ever see this video, I had to come record it. So I turned out all my outside lights, and I came outside and I lit a piece of sage, just a really small piece actually, which is what I always do to kind of clear the energy of my space and set my intention. And then I lit my candle and I started the work. And for me, the work is forgiveness. And this is what I did. I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. I forgive everyone for everything, including those that hurt me and myself. I forgive everyone for everything, including those that don't understand me. I forgive everyone for everything and those that did not protect me. I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. I forgive everyone for everything. I forgive everyone for everything, including myself. Blessings on the journey, my friends.
We hope you've enjoyed Experience of the Soul with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Shawn Kilgore.